Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulonding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash.
It's a warm reception to our studio here in Sarakunda. This is Star TV News with me, Maimuna Fadera. In the headlines tonight, Health Minister Lord's first family's role in fighting COVID-19. Press censorship journalists prohibited to cover National Assembly proceedings. COVID-19 hampers tertiary institutions. Banjul City Council hits back to critics. Mayor Lou's mask campaign gains momentum. Women of Kubini village choose mining as their profession. On the international scene, Indonesia lockdowns back in capital as hospitals near capacity. Death toll rises as wildfires ravage U.S. West Coast. Maluku military leaders seek to avoid sanctions. Well, those were the headlines, and now the news in details. In a press release sent to media houses, the Minister of Health on Friday afternoon lauded the great role of the first family in the country's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Amadou Samate made this remark at the State House as he took delivery of laboratory and sanitary equipment from First Lady Sadio Mbalo Barrow. He said the leadership shown by the family in these challenging moments for the population was strategic in mobilizing funds, equipment, medical and food supplies for needy families since the country registered its first COVID-19 case in March this year. He therefore thanked First Lady Sadio Mbalo Barrow for her personal efforts in this cause. She was handing over materials donated through her to the health sector. This, according to the health minister, were timely as national efforts intensify to bring both infection and mortality figures to a minimum. There should be no room for complacency. All safety measures should continue. Etiquettes on personal hygiene must continue. Hence, the donated equipment will enhance those measures to help reduce the spread of the virus, he said. Speaking on behalf of First Lady Sadio Mbalo Barrow, Deputy Youth Advisor to the President, Mr. Sehu Mbalo, thanked Mr. Haji Karaga for his contribution to the government's efforts in the fight against the COVID-19. Government continues to fight this invincible global enemy called COVID-19. We are fighting very hard, and with the help of private citizens like Mr. Karaga, we shall triumph over it, Mbalo said. The equipment will be taken to the central medical stores and an inventory kept before an assessment will determine which health facilities will benefit from them. Dr. Samate, however, maintained that the health laboratories in rural areas require capacity upgrade in order to cater for needs of patients visiting them. The release ends. The coronavirus has impacted knowledge seeking in the Gambia since it emerged as all schools were closed. Tertiary institutions are no exception to the closure, which was geared towards mitigating the spread of the virus. While Omar Job files in this report.
Schools in the Gambia were closed amid the pronouncement of state of public emergency by the President of the Gambia, Adama Barrow, in mid-March 2020. The National Association Vocational and Skills Training Institute, the body responsible for tertiary education, is conscious of the crippling effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in the closure of schools to avoid its transmission in schools. Speaking to Star TV, Abdullah Sow, the chairman of NAFTI, The body responsible for all the tertiary institutions stated that the COVID-19 has hampered tertiary institutions as no revenues have been earned by them for 6 months now. This, he said, can lead to permanent closure of some institutions as most of the institutions do not own the premises they are located.
We have been closed since March, and that means no activity, and that means no revenue for all the training institutions that are involved in, skills training. Basically, zero revenue for 6 months since this COVID started in the Gambia. And, these training institutions, they have obligations because they have staff to pay, they are lecturers, they also have rents to pay, and they have electricity and all those other things to do. So the impact is not only on the owners of the training institutions, but what about the staff that are working there? They need to be paid, and these people, they have families to feed. So if you imagine, zero revenue from March up to now, 6 months, that is a great impact, and this happens to all the training institutions in this country.
Mr. Sow noted that a letter was written to the Ministry of Higher Education for financial assistance, but they weren't fortunate to have a response.
It was when we wrote a letter to the Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Technology, MOHAS, requesting for financial support for training institutions, financial support in the form of salaries for 3 months and rent for 3 months. But unfortunately, we did not get a positive response from them. In fact, we did not even get a response from them. I learned they were doing something in the background, but officially we have not received any response from them. So down the line up to now 6 months, we have written to them again to seek for audience, because since they are not ready to help us financially, we feel at least they should allow us to open partially, just like all the other economic activities that are happening in this country.
He further urged the government to act fast on the opening of training institutions, as long delay may cause socio-economic predicaments. He stated that no country can develop without skilled sectors. They graduate more students than the University of the Gambia because not many students can afford to go to the university after completion of secondary school level. Demba Kande, the Director of Training at Media Academy for Journalism and Communication, MAJAC, noted that institutions tried to offer online classes, but lots of constraints restricted the smooth running of the classes, as most students had poor internet connections and difficulties in accessing secured places in their homes to follow the online classes efficiently. He highlighted the financial difficulties of the pandemic on tertiary institutions, as most of the institutions depend on tuition fees in order to manage the institution's infrastructures and the human resource challenges, but due to the pandemic, income has not been generated as most people focus on survival in this pandemic.
Because of the low productivity in the economic sectors, a lot of people are focused more on survival. So they save their monies and focus on buying food and other activities instead of paying for tuition fees. And as a result, this is really hampering the development of a lot of institutions, or should I say the sustainability of a lot of institutions. We have seen situations where some institutions have to lay off staff because they cannot continue or they cannot afford to pay trainers while there is no cash coming into their accounts through tuition fees. So all of these will impact institutions very badly, and when eventually the lockdown is lifted and schools resume, what we're going to have is that some schools have to go and start from scratch in terms of recruiting trainers or even recruiting students and so on and so forth, and that has serious negative impacts.
Mr. Kande also stated that as an institution, they are well prepared for the resumption of schools, as measures will be put in place to cope the spread of the virus and be safeguarded from it.
But when we resume, for us here at the Academy, we're very much prepared. As you know, we have small classes, and as such, we have even decided that we will reduce them even smaller to allow smaller people in smaller groups to allow for distancing within the rooms.
Nevertheless, the National Association Vocational and Skills Training Institute hopes to meet the Ministry of Education to allow them to operate with the help of guidelines, as those who attend tertiary institutions are mature enough to abide by the safety measures recommended by WHO and the Ministry of Health. For Star TV, I am Omar Job.
A bunch of private media houses were denied entry into the National Assembly on Monday. The journalists arrived to cover proceedings. As always, when they were informed on the ground that they will not be allowed entry due to the COVID-19 regulations. Maria Madam has the rest of the details.
Instead, only 3 media houses were given the green light to cover a very important sitting on the bill that seeks to repeal the 1997 Constitution and promulgate the 2020 Constitution. Journalists have been covering National Assembly proceedings even after the COVID-19 came into this country. No one ever barred any media house from covering past proceedings. But today, Monday, 14 September 2020, will go down in the history of the Gambia. Not just because the first step to give the Gambian people a new constitution was taken before the Assembly, but for the fact that the Gambian people were denied access to attend the proceedings on the laws that should be used to guide their actions for the next decades. According to the National Assembly, this was done because of the coronavirus. It attracted anger from the journalists, especially those who have always been covering proceedings all this while. Kek Sane, a journalist at Foria, said that he was very disappointed. Something as important as the Constitution, Sane queried as to how exactly the people are supposed to know what the document contains if journalists are not allowed to cover the proceedings.
This is a very important document and it's a historical moment for the Gambia right now, and every citizen, because at the end of the day the decision is going back to the citizen to decide whether they want this constitution or they don't want this constitution. So they have to be informed so that they can make an informed choice, and they cannot be informed if they don't know what has been said or what is the context of the document. And the content of the document can be related to the citizen through the media houses. And if you check the media houses in this country, whether they have nationwide coverage, how many people do they reach out to? You could see that other villages don't even have electricity to go on to the electronic media. So they rely on the radio, the electronic media and the printed media, those who can read and write. So if you deny those people, how will they be informed to make the informed decision whether this is the document they want to govern them or not? So definitely it is very disappointing from there, and I think that they are not doing justice to the citizen to be informed, because they have to be informed every content of this document to know, so that when they go and face the pool to decide what they will do, they will have an informed choice that this is the document I want or this is the document that I don't want. But if you do that, then definitely you are discriminating the media, you are discriminating even the citizens, you are imposing that the citizens should accept something that they have no knowledge about it, and that is not fair.
Kex felt more disappointed upon confirmation that the decision came from the National Assembly, an institution that is supposed to safeguard all Gambians against all forms of discrimination. To him, the parliament has failed the Gambian people by trying to suppress what is in the constitution by denying journalists access. He implored the Gambia Press Union, the Ministry of Communication and the National Assembly to put a stop to the discrimination as soon as possible. Here are the reactions of all the journalists who were also denied entry.
Be that well informed about their constitution, because there's going to be only some few media houses that they cherry pick, that they say are allowed to go in there and cover. So how is the reach? How are people going to know about these things? Even this session today was not well publicized, and yet we come. You as a citizen should have the right to go in there. If they have a capacity, if they reach the capacity, they tell us that they have reached the capacity, and then they stop people from entering. That is understandable because of COVID. But we don't know whether they have reached their capacity. They are stopping people from going in because of you're not coming from iAfrica TV, you're not coming from GRTS, or you're not coming from QTV. This is unbelievable. And that same National Assembly gave how much $1 million he said that they're giving that to the media. Huh? Is this how you empower the media? Is this how you empower your citizens, your constituents, who are supposed to be the ones to feed off the information we provide to them? I am utterly disappointed, and honestly, this will go down in history. And we as media should make sure we document this, that we were stopped from documenting this point in history. That's why we couldn't put it out there. And they said that we should go to QTV and iAfrica TV.
It's so very discouraging because, okay, right now I am so very discouraged. I am thinking, okay, if I'm to come here tomorrow, because I'll see it as a waste of time. Welcome all the way to the assembly when I know that I wouldn't be allowed to enter in there and do my work. And the most, I am not even, not even angry with the security force, but then I am angry with the National Assembly members. And I am calling on GRTS, Africa, and QTV to boycott the session. Because if they boycott the session, they won't have anybody to cover for them. And then think about their decision again and call other media institutions. But if GRTS, QTV, and Africa are covering it without boycotting the session, they will continue with the session.
The National Assembly member for Serekunda, Honorable Halifa Sallah, tabled a motion for media houses to be allowed entry, but the speaker said that she couldn't rule on immediately. Apparently, the decision came from the National Assembly Service, commonly known as the Office of the Clerk. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
The Banjul City Council on Friday organized a media briefing meant to clear allegations surrounding their mode of operations, financial dealings, nepotism, and relationships with business entities. However, the pressure was held at the municipality in Banjul. Modu Albaji reports.
The influence of criticism is shaping and determining the trends of affairs in modern politics. It is obvious that politicians cannot ignore or underestimate it. However, the Banjul City Council has been branded with lots of misconduct, which triggered the city's chief executive officer to organize a press briefing to clarify what he described as smear campaign. The CEO, Mustafa Bachili, outlined the issues that have been alleged on him and the Lord Mayor, especially on the appointment of the Deputy Chief Executive Officer and other individuals whom critics allege to be the Mayor's relatives.
So this is very clear. It's from the Ministry of Local Government and Lands. They are the ones who appointed the Deputy CEO, not the Mayor or myself. Another gentleman who is with the EU project that we have, by the name Mr. Mamlai Jase, was supposed to have been brought in and imposed on us. This will also attest to the fact that that's far away from the truth, because we have partners in Belgium. Through EU, they're sponsoring this project, Banjul EU project. And during the time of the recruitment, 2 personnel came from our sister city council in Belgium, Ostend. They came to witness this interview process. So that could not be true.
The relationship between the Gambia Ports Authority and the Banjul City Council, which the critics assume is perpetuated because the City Council wanted to sell the Muslim High School and the Banjul Mini Stadium to the Ports Authority for annexation, which Mr. Bachile said to be fiction.
The issue of the Banjul Mini Stadium, it was alleged that the mayor had an unholy alliance with the Ports Authority. And also that led to the donation of 2 compactors from the Ports Authority. Let me first start with the 2 compactors. Things evolve. The Gambia Ports Authority, especially with the present management, they have discovered, or they are practicing a kind of a more fruitful relationship than we used to have with the port before. And this could be attested by looking at the coastal cities along the West African region. We look at the relationship between the ports and the city councils. So I'm very happy that the Ports Authority, the management, are thinking along that direction. So by providing 2 compactors to the BCC to enhance environmental cleanliness, I don't see nothing clandestine in that. And if they insinuate that the mayor, like I said, had an unholy alliance with the port, then I don't think the port would have been in a position to make this advertisement in the media. The port wants the Banjul Mini Stadium and the Muslim High School for annexation with their container terminal. I think if I'm not wrong, guys. So I don't think this could be going on, and then the port and the mayor having an unholy alliance. That's rubbish. if I may call it, come to rubbish. This is for all of you to see. It's in the national media. So in as much as we are trying to smear people or groups or institutions, let's use it with our, let's do it with our brains, because this is a clear testimony of the fact that the Ports Authority is more serious and liable as compared to what they are suggesting.
He also cited numerous occasions where the mayor dipped in her pocket to finance some council's activities, likewise building relationships with other institutions and organizations geared towards cementing an effort to connect the Banjul City Council with other development partners. The fuel coupons were also part of the issues he dilated on, which critics allege that Rohima Aliklo used to share with her friends. The council CEO clarified that their fuel coupons are regulated by the PMO. On cleaning services, which the critics purported that the council spent over $700,000 per week, the CEO said that they have sent 15 of their staff for training on repairing and driving at Express Motors in order to reduce council's expenditure. For Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
The Diaspora Association joined the Lord Mayor's campaign of Operation 100,000 face masks by donating over 3,000 face masks to the council on Friday as part of the efforts threatening BCC's efforts in fighting the pandemic. Well, Modu Elbaji tells us more.
In fighting this pandemic, multilateral efforts are paramount due to the fact that the impacts of a pandemic such as COVID-19 are not centralized on country, religion, tribe, or origin. For that reason, the Gambians in the diaspora responded positively to the Lord Mayor's clarion call to support her efforts in mitigating the further spread of the novel coronavirus in the country. The representative of the Diaspora Club explained how the initiative came about, noting that the government cannot do it alone. It was what propelled them as Gambians to support their municipality and country in curbing the virus.
Yeah, we are just here to help. The government cannot do it alone. So we have to, contribute our quota to see that to fight against this COVID-19. We all know that it's a deadly disease. So together we can fight it. Yeah, that's why we, the members at the diaspora, feel it necessary to do this contribution to the council to help to fight this deadly disease.
How do you think that this donation will help in preventing the spread of COVID-19?
Yeah, of course, it will help in one way or the other, because as we all know, the ministry is emphasizing this to put on the face mask, and I think this is the only thing to prevent this.
These face masks will be further distributed to the local communities by the council when they hit their target. The Chief Executive Officer at the Banjul City Council expressed gratitude to the diaspora for helping the Mayor of Banjul, Rohima Aliklo, in actualizing her plans in fighting the virus. For Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
In Kubune village, women are into stone mining, which so many people believe to be the work of men. Star TV went to know the sentiments of those women, and they said that they do it in order to help their families. Well, Hadijaju tells us more.
Hadi Bojang, a stone miner, said that they face so many difficulties in the quarry as people believe that it is the work of a man. But for them, this is the only work they can do to lend a helping hand to their husbands and also fulfill the needs of their children. She also said that it takes 3 to 4 months to gather stone before they can sell it. She said that they use their own hands to gather the stones and also pay people to collect the stones and put them in the truck. The money they pay them is the same money they use part of to pay their laborers. It is very painful because in the end, they are left with a small amount of money. Sometimes they work for the men and get paid. Memuna Jamme added that mining stone is not something easy and people always tell her not to do it because it is meant for men. I cannot stay at home doing nothing and waiting for my husband who is also not financially stable. This is why I went into stone mining to lend a helping hand to my husband and also to provide for my children as well, she said. She also confirmed that they pay a duty of $100 before they sell their stones to buyers. As of now, few of them are at the quarry mining because whenever it rains, people intend to stay at home. It is very dangerous at the quarry whenever it rains because the stones can fall on top of one's head and cause injury or death. In conclusion, She urged the government to look into their matter and help the people of Kubune village, especially the women who are into stone mining. Kumbaba also noted that they face so many difficulties because they lived in the village. So this is the only work they can do, apart from farming, to feed their families. She also urges the government to come to their rescue. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Hadijaj.
Well, those were the local stories. We'll be back with the international news after the short commercial break. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulanding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gosh Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gosh Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gosh on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gosh Global Group on Bertel Harding Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.goshglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh.
Welcome back after that short commercial break, and we now look at the news beyond our borders. Indonesia lockdowns back in capitals as hospitals near capacity. Authorities in Indonesia's capital have reintroduced stricter COVID-19 restrictions in an effort to reduce the strain on the city's healthcare system. Doctors say the system is close to the collapsing and hospital beds will be filled within weeks if the government does not intervene. Indonesia has more COVID-19 deaths than anywhere else in the region. While Al Jazeera's Jessica Washington reports from Jakarta, Indonesia.
This is the manifestation of how the pandemic became a crisis in this city. This cemetery in Jakarta is only for patients who died from COVID-19 or were suspected of having it. The gravediggers are exhausted, but the bodies keep coming. Indonesia has more confirmed COVID-19 deaths than anywhere else in the region. More than 8,000 people are reported to have died, but due to low testing rates, the actual death toll could be much higher.
We are tired. We've been working like this for 6 months. We have buried so many people. Still, we have to do our job.
And it's not just these workers who are under strain. This cemetery is a tragic representation of the impact of the pandemic here in Indonesia. And it's not just Jakarta's cemeteries that are fast filling up, but hospitals as well. It's why Jakarta's governor says the city must once again go into lockdown before the situation spirals out of control. In June, Jakarta began to ease restrictions to boost the economy, reopening many businesses and offices. At the time, the governor told Al Jazeera he was confident the city's healthcare system could handle the pandemic. Months later, he now warns that hospital beds are just weeks away from running out.
If we let this be, the hospitals won't be able to contain the situation, and the result will be a high death rate. We will reimpose the restrictions and we will work, study and pray from home again.
Around the country, close to 200 healthcare workers have died from COVID-19, and doctors say the national government must prioritise people's health over efforts to reopen.
A lot of health personnel are telling that they are tired of doing this thing like a marathon from March. There is no break.
Hours before the restrictions began, Zulkifli served his last customer. Another shutdown means millions of low-income earners like him will suffer.
I know we need to address the pandemic, but I also need income for my children.
He didn't receive any government support during the last shutdown, and it could be months before the salon reopens. In a city as diverse and populous as Jakarta, it seems there's no easy solution. Jessica Washington, Al Jazeera, Jakarta.
Death toll rises as wildfires ravage U.S. West Coast. A strong winds warning has been issued as emergency crews battle to contain nearly 100 wildfires burning in the U.S. states of Oregon, Washington, and California. And President Donald Trump has stoked controversy ahead of a visit to Oregon, claiming that the solution to the fires is better forest management and not tackling climate change, while Al Jazeera's Patty Gulhan reports.
All across the West, spread out through several states, similar yet shocking scenes, walls of flames, apocalyptic-looking skies and seas of ash. Remnants of the lives lived here, now just rubble. For those who can return, many finding their worst fears confirmed. George Cobble lost 5 homes in this family compound, his business and antique cars that are not insured.
We already had our stock trailer and our travel trailer hooked up to the pickup, but we really didn't think it was going to come here, so we just kind of like, so we didn't think to grab a lot of stuff that we should have grabbed. We just, when we seen the fire that close, we just grabbed the animals.
More than 500,000 people in the state of Oregon have evacuated or been told to be ready to leave. Many still refuse. Some got lucky.
Water still works. We came here on Wednesday night, like I said. The water was working. There was no power though, so since the water was working, we were able to put out more hot spots. There was fire all around us, so put that out. It's not as bad as it used to be.
With dozens missing, searchers have begun sifting through the debris, looking and finding more bodies. This is the desperate situation as the U.S. president arrives on Monday, but he's already framing how he sees these historically bad wildfires.
Spoke to the folks in Oregon, Washington. They never had anything like this. But you know, it is about forest management. Please remember the words, very simple. Forest management, please remember that.
But the Democratic governors here strongly disagree.
And we know that climate change is making fires start easier, spread faster, and intensify. And it is maddening right now that when we have this cosmic challenge to our communities with the entire west coast of the United States on fire, to have a president to deny that these are not just wildfires, these are climate fires.
The weather did give firefighters a break over the weekend with calmer winds and cooler temperatures, but that will be short-lived as Monday is expected to bring wind gusts of more than 60 kilometers an hour, a worst-case scenario for a scene that already seems to be just that. Patty Gulhane, Al Jazeera.
Maliko military leaders seek to avoid sanctions. A 3-day national consultation is underway in Mali as its military rulers race to avoid sanctions. The regional bloc ECOWAS issued a September 15 deadline for the coup leaders to appoint a civilian president and a prime minister, while Al Jazeera's Ahmed Idris reports.
Chaos at the start of a conference designed to ensure a peaceful transition after the coup in Mali. Police fired tear gas to disperse dozens of protesters who helped oust President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta from power last month. Police said the demonstrators didn't have an invitation. When the dust settled, Mali's national anthem set the mood. Watching on was one of Mali's most influential figures, Imam Mahmoud Dicko, who led the protest that eventually ended Keïta's presidency. A speech by the leader of last month's military coup set the tone of the gathering.
I would like to reiterate our willingness to participate in the establishment of the architecture of the transition, and this is in strict respect of the will of the Malian people.
And protest leader Dicko appealed to the military rulers to meet the ECOWAS demand to appoint civilians to lead a transition administration and to ensure that it succeeds. A message repeated by the religious establishment.
We are at an important stage in our country's history. It is a transition period that's about to begin. It is important that all Malians are here to discuss.
Earlier in the week, regional leaders met in Niamey, the capital of neighboring Niger, where they demanded the installation of an interim civilian administration by September 15 to oversee the transition to democracy in Mali. Failure would mean the full application of ECOWAS sanctions, which the military rulers of this landlocked country want to avoid. ECOWAS states have already cut economic ties with Mali. The chaotic start to the 3-day meeting left some Malians wondering if the talks weren't designed to fail.
Franchement,
Je suis un peu déçue.
Frankly, I'm a little disappointed because, first of all, seeing how things unfolded, I think it's a bit locked. It seems to be all against the M5. I pray the talks succeed and that I'm wrong.
The National Consultative Forum talks end on Saturday, 48 hours before the ECOWAS deadline. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera.
And before we end the news, a quick recap of our main headlines. The Minister of Health on Friday afternoon lauded the great role of the first family in the country's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Amadou Samate made this remark at the State House as he took delivery of laboratory and sanitary equipment from First Lady Sajo Mbalo Barrow. The coronavirus has impacted knowledge seeking in the Gambia since it emerged as all schools were closed. Tertiary institutions are no exception to the closure, which was geared towards mitigating the spread of the virus. A bunch of private media houses were detained entry into the National Assembly on Monday. The journalists arrived to cover proceedings as always when they were informed on the ground that they will not be allowed entry due to the COVID-19 regulations. The Banjul City Council on Friday organized a media briefing meant to clear allegations surrounding their mode of operations, financial dealings, nepotism, and relationships with business entities. However, the pressure was held at the municipality in Banjul. The Diaspora Association joined the Lord Mayor's campaign of Operation 100,000 face masks by donating over 3,000 face masks to the council on Friday as part of efforts to strengthen BCC's efforts in fighting the pandemic. In Kubune village, women are into stone mining, which so many people believe to be the work of men. Star TV went to know the sentiments of those women, and they said that they do it in order to help their families. Authorities in Indonesia's capital have reintroduced stricter COVID-19 restrictions in an effort to reduce the strain on the city's healthcare system. Doctors say the system is close to collapsing and hospital beds will be filled within weeks if the government doesn't intervene. Indonesia has more COVID-19 deaths than anywhere else in the region. A strong winds warning has been issued as emergency crews battle to contain nearly 100 wildfires burning in the U.S. states of Oregon, Washington, and California. And President Donald Trump has stoked controversy ahead of a visit to Oregon, claiming that the solution to the fires is better forest management, not tackling climate change. A 3-day national consultation is underway in Mali as its military rulers race to avoid sanctions. The regional bloc ECOWAS issued a 3-day national consultation is underway in Mali as its military rulers race to avoid sanctions. The regional bloc ECOWAS issued a September 15 deadline for the co-leaders to appoint a civilian president and a prime minister. Well, that's all for this edition of the news. Do enjoy the rest of our programs and join us tomorrow for more news. Thanks for watching and do have a wonderful night. Bye for now.